It's absolutely perfect in every single way except for 18 tiny little points. The inlays are the wrong color. Genuinely stunning. Except for the fact that your inlays are essentially invisible. They are supposed to be clay dots and they look like orange, dirty, nasty, just nasty. And the side dots are, again, basically invisible. Now, the client has brought this to us and asked us if we can make this right. And we can. It's just not a very pleasing color. They're supposed to be clay dots, which are a much creamier, brighter color. And we've got these that actually sort of match the body as well, which is good. So what we've got is an American original 60s jazz bass. It was made in April 2018, according to the serial number. And our client bought this, and then COVID happened and he wasn't gigging. Which is fine. Yeah, the gigs have resumed and he's realized that he just, on a darkened stage, can't see what's going on. Hell, I'm not even in a darkened room and I can't see those side dots. And you need to know your side dots. You need to know where you're at. So, yeah, we're going to be drilling and replacing every single one of these frets, inlays, without touching the frets. Because there's no point, there's no reason to do that. Let's get these strings off, shall we? Ah, there we go. Well, I wouldn't say glued in, but the paint has done its thing. So, wedging it against my fingers in the neck pocket, and there we go. The neck went on fairly soon after the paint was applied. So we got our serial number and 60s line 1 bits and pieces in there. 2018 confirms what the serial number says. Now, to be fair to Fender, this is a 60s reissue. They've tried to go for an inlay that looks like the clay dots supposedly looked, but they've just gone 3 or 4 shades darker. I'm here on Reverb looking at a bunch of different original 60s things, and even in the photos I can see that these inlays are much lighter on the old instruments. So they've just screwed the pooch a little bit on that one. And then if you go and look in the forums, a load of people are asking, oh my gosh, how do I get rid of these? I can't see my instrument. And this is across the board on these reissues. Now, the interesting thing is the dots actually are not made out of actual clay. They're just called that. It's a paper-based product, kind of like the material used to make your humbucker parts out of, etc. But yeah, in this case, it's going to be fun. So what I need to do is drill out the old inlays without damaging the board at all. And the easiest way to do that is to drill out the center with a much smaller drill bit than you've started with. Okay, so I'm starting off with a center punch. And then essentially with a little Archimedes drill. Oh, there we go. And that's just got a 1mm drill bit in there. Okay, so then after that, making sure that you're centered. Very gently, I'm drilling out the center with a 1.5mm drill bit, leaving a little ring of the original inlay. So there's what we've got, a ring of plastic, and that should now remove fairly easily with the next size up. You don't want to take more material than 0.5mm there. And then I've now got a 2mm drill bit in here, but I'm going with the drill in reverse, okay? And this means that it's going to do a lot less damage as you go in. I've gone about 0.5mm or so deep, and now in forward motion again, just slowly ease it through. perfection. Not quite perfection actually, I've got a little bit of the original inlay just in there. How's that? I'm not actually going to use the center punch this time. I did go a little bit off center that last time. Just do it carefully by eye and adjust with that. Actually, I think it's potentially this little drill bit has been ground a little bit wrong. That also went slightly off. So with my 1.5, I then need to go back in and just adjust it. And this is why you don't start at the same size bit as you want to end up at. There's my 1.5, 2 mil in reverse. Do not forget in reverse. And that's actually gone and done it quite perfectly. There you go. This is really a rather pleasing job. On the front it's the same exact process, but minus a large part of the stress, essentially, because there's no finish involved. That's 5.5. Even if you just run it in by hand, you can see that it's not doing any damage on the actual fretboard. Now this is a center point drill bit this time, and we just go through. Now, if you're lucky, just the act of doing that will actually disintegrate and delaminate the edges of that inlay. So that hasn't happened in this case. If you're doing this with mother of pearl dots or something like that, it does tend to disintegrate rather than be drilled through easily. Yeah, here's where we stand. 0 side dots. 0 side dots, those are to be replaced in a second, and I can't focus. It's the ADHD mind, everybody. Okay, and then just with a standard twist bit, you don't even need to use the drill at this point. This is a 6 mil, so it's only 0.5 millimeter bigger than the drill bit that went beforehand. And I'm just using that to clear the mess out. So I think that these actually were 6.35 millimeters, 1/4 of an inch. So I need to go a little bit bigger. Actually, just taking the 6 mil bit and just wiggling it a little bit is removing the sides. So our 6.35 mil dot is going to fit perfectly fine. Here we are, a nice clean surface with which to work, and no finish issues. Apart from the ones that Fender made themselves, of course. And I mean, this is the easy bit. We've got the standard dots. They are 1/4 of an inch, 6.35 millimeters, and I'm just going to knock it off. Let's put some glue in and install. Okay, you don't want too much glue, but you also don't want too little. He says, stating the obvious. And wear eye protection, whatever you do. You don't want to spurt super glue into your eyeballs. So we're a little proud, and that's fine. Or should I say, perfect. Okay, side dots, same exact thing. Very gently apply a little bit of super glue, and then it's just a very gentle application. These things do tend to ping out of your hands, so just be aware of that. Now, if I put too much super glue in here on these side dots, I'm not actually that worried about it. I am gonna, in the filing and finishing process, well, not finishing process, but in the filing process, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of polishing of the lacquer here on the side of this neck. Oh, that was lucky. Yeah, any excess super glue will be polished back and we'll be fine. Okay, so when you're going to file this down, the last thing you want to do is file great big divots into your neck. And this is the bit that really scares everybody. To start off with, I'm taking one of our premium traditional crowning files and a little bit of masking tape on either side, and this will protect the fretboard. I've put it too far away. I failed at the first hurdle. I suck, everybody. That'll do. Now I could have put the masking tape on the fretboard itself, and I could use something like metal shim stock, the same principle as a fretboard protector, etc. But well, I didn't. There are many ways to skin this particular cat. And then once you get down to it, you want to use a finer file, and I'm just bringing it down to the level of the fretboard. And yes, I am filing the fretboard as well. We're going to have to essentially sand or scrape down the whole fretboard to the same finish so it matches nicely. I don't actually want to use that because I don't want to touch the sides of the frets if I can help it. And once you've done that, move on to fret polishing rubbers, well, fret and fretboard. So this is a medium. Okay, so we have actually grain filled a little bit with the dust, which isn't ideal, so I'm going to have to scrape this, which is a pity. I don't like scraping fretboards if I can avoid it, but it's effective. And then once you've done that, then you homogenize the whole thing with the fret rubber, because scrapers always leave marks that are obvious to anybody who's ever scraped a fretboard. And with the final pass, just go with the grain. Okay, I've done one, but I can't resist going on to the side dots now. So let's hit this, shall we? And it's the exact same process, although in this case I am going to put masking tape on either side. And this is as a visual cue for what's going on. Start off by using the fret end cutters. I'm not going right flush because, did you see how that shattered? I wasn't sure how that was going to work, and I don't want to take this out. So, actually I'm going to avoid this. I'm now using the absolute finest crowning file we make. This is a beautiful velour make. We modify incredibly high quality velour files for our finest crowning files. And I'm just gently removing the excess. This is ever so slightly nerve-wracking, but necessary. Putting next to no pressure on this at all. Okay, so I'm going to put some 800 grit paper on my tiny little crimson sanding stick of awesomeness. It's just a case of gently going through the grits. It's not going to take much. So that's 800 grit. I'll do all of them and then go back. 800, 1200, 1500, a bit of polish, and this will be sorted. There you go. Genuinely, these are my favorite new tools that we offer at Crimson Guitars. We've got, this is the smallest one, there's 3 different sizes. They are so useful. And then on with a Fretboard Restorative. And you leave this to sit for a little while, 5 or 10 minutes, just to soak in. We now have inlays that you can actually see front and side. We've got no damage to the inlay or to the finish. I apologize. They're still clay colored, but they're not orange, so you can see what's going on to a certain extent, and that makes, well, it means that you actually should be able to play using this instrument, which, I don't know, color me traditional, but I suspect that it should be the first thing that the luthiers think about, really, rather than the last. Click like, subscribe. Bring me your interesting repairs, if you have any. And most importantly, go make some sawdust. See you soon. Have a good one.